Progress.
Good evening, class. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay. Where do we stop last time? What did we discuss the last time we had our class? What do we discuss? Who can remind us what we discussed in our last class? What do we discuss in our last class? Which topic?
Tax practice in Nigeria.
Tax practice in Nigeria. Okay. Have we discussed corporate tax incentive? Corporate tax incentive, have we talked about that?
No.
Corporate tax incentive, where we talk about different tax incentive given to a company. We have talked about that and foreign direct investment.
Yes.
Okay. So this night, we are going to discuss an important topic. This important topic is called pioneer legislation. This topic is called what? Pioneer legislation. In some textbook, you will see they will call it tax holiday. Tax holiday. What is pioneer legislation? It's a law enacted by the government to give some tax incentive to some company. Those companies that will create economic development and growth, we give them tax incentive. The tax incentive that we give them is they will not pay tax for some period. that period that they will not pay tax is called pioneer period. And the period can also be referred as tax holiday. According to the pioneer legislation, a company giving pioneer status will not pay tax for the first 3 years. And that 3 years can be extended to additional 2 years with addition of 2 years, subject to a satisfactory performance. So let's start with pioneer incentive. What do we understand by pioneer incentive? Pioneer incentive are those relief exemption granted by Nigeria government to a qualified multinational investment project or multinational companies. To a qualified multinational investment project or multinational companies in which their profit or income brought into Nigeria or received in Nigeria will attract what? Foreign direct investments for economic growth and development. What we mean by pioneer incentive, those are the incentives given to a company. Most especially, pioneer incentive is given to multinational companies. Those companies that are owned by foreigners, that they want to come and invest in Nigeria. When they invest in Nigeria, their investment in Nigeria will contribute to economic growth and development of Nigeria. It will attract foreign direct investment. It will create employment opportunities. It will reduce importation. It will increase exportation. It will result into positive foreign exchange rates. Those sectors that if they come and establish them in Nigeria and they start producing goods or services, those goods or services that we're supposed to import, they are now start producing it in Nigeria. We need to give them some incentive. That incentive is called pioneer incentive, in which their profits will be exempted from company income tax and education tax for an initial period of 3 years and additional 2 years subject to satisfactory performance. What that one means is that a pioneer period is only for 3 years and can be extended for additional 2 years that will make it 5 years based on satisfactory performance of the initial 3 years. If a company is giving pioneer status or pioneer incentive, that means that company will not pay tax, profit in company income tax and education tax for the next 3 years. The company will not pay tax for the next 3 years. After the 3 years, the company can apply for extension of additional 2 years that will make it 5 years. But that extension is not automatic granted. It's based on your satisfactory performance of the initial 3 years. Now, what are the consideration to qualify for pioneer status? For a company to be given a pioneer status, what are the factors that we need to consider that we want to give a pioneer status to a company? Like I said, pioneer status is normally given to a multinational company, though a local companies too, company that is established in Nigeria too can apply for pioneer status. But Most of the companies that enjoy pioneer status, they are normally multinational companies. So, but that one does not mean a local company cannot enjoy it. Local companies too can apply. If they meet the condition, they can apply. So what are the factors that we need to consider to before a company can be said it can be regarded as a pioneer status company? For a company to qualify as a pioneer status, what are those things that we need to consider? Number one is employment generation. That company, once they come to establish in Nigeria, they will increase our employment generation. They will create more employment opportunities to Nigeria. You understand? So if such company will improve employment rate in Nigeria, so they will be given a pioneer status. Another one, value creation or value addition. Such company that want to apply for a pioneer status must added value to Nigeria economy. The company must added value to the Nigeria economy in terms of economic growth, in terms of reduction of imports, increase in exportations. Another factor is promotion of local content. That company must promote local products produced in Nigeria. That company must make use of local raw material extract in Nigeria for the production of its goods and services. That company must not import its raw material outside the country. The raw material the company wants to use to produce the goods and services must be from Nigeria. That is local content. Nigeria local content. Another one is export potential of the business. That company that want to apply for pioneer status must increase the rate of exportation. That company, when they produce the good, we must be able to export the good outside the country. After using the good in the country, we should have enough of those goods that we export. You know, when Nigeria is an export-oriented company, you understand, country, it will help our foreign exchange rates. Our naira will appreciate against foreign currency. Our naira, our local currency, will have more value as compared to the foreign currency. Do we understand? Do we understand? Another condition of consideration of factors for that qualify for a pioneer status, to consider for a company to qualify for a pioneer status. Another factors is sustainable development. Sustainable development. That company will contribute to sustainable development of Nigeria environment. That one has to do with corporate social responsibility, CSR. That company should provide water. That company should assist in terms of electricity. That company should assist government to build more schools. That company should assist more government to construct road network. If such company has that objective of doing that, that means they will be qualified for giving a pioneer status. So we have 5 considerations or 5 factors to qualify be considered for a company to qualify for a pioneer status. I've mentioned them: employment generation, local content of raw material, export orientation, sustainable development, and the other one is value creation. Now, let's look at step or procedure for application for a pioneer status. What are the steps or procedure when a company wants to apply for a pioneer status incentive? What are those steps or procedure that the company must follow? Number one, if any company wants to apply for a pioneer status, that company must make an application in written for a pioneer status. And that application in written must be addressed or submitted to NIPC. NIPC means Nigeria Investment Promotion Council. So number one step is application must be made in written and submitted to the NIPC by the company. Number two step, a request for presentation of the project to NIPC. Request for a date to present the project to the NIPC. After you have made application, you will now arrange for a date where you are going to present your project to NIPC as a company. You present the kind of product you want to produce in Nigeria, and you will tell NIPC the value that that product will create to Nigeria environment in terms of employment generation, in terms of export, in terms of value creation, in terms of local content of raw material, in terms of social responsibility, which is sustainable development. After you have made application in written, you will request for a date that you will make a presentation of your project. In your date of presentation, you will tell them what kind of product you want to produce, how the product is going to be produced, how are you going to sell the product to Nigeria markets, what value does the product will have on the GDP of Nigeria. After that, you need to provide a project profile. After you have presented your project to them, you will now give them a project profile indicating the product you want to produce, indicating the share capital of your company, indicating the value of your non-current assets. After that, you will now request for a feedback. After you have provide your project profile, if NIPC have looked at your project profile, they will now give you a feedback. On your feedback, your project may be approved or your project may be declined. If they approve your project, they will request you to make a payment of application form and due diligence fees within a week. If your project is approved, you will make a payment of application form and due diligence fees within a week of the approval. Application form for a pioneer incentive, application fee is 200,000. Due diligence fee is 500,000. Once you have made your payment for application fee and due diligence fee, the next thing is to submit your application form to the Executive Secretary of NIPC with supporting documents. You will submit your application form with a supporting document. Once NIPC receive your application form, the next step is NIPC, they will review your application form. They will review it in order to confirm whether the application form comply with legal, regulatory, and compliance. After they have verified and reviewed, if the verification that they've done is successful, they will now request you, they will request the company to pay a service charge deposit of 2.5 million naira within a week. That company will pay a service charge deposit of 2.5 million naira within a week. So upon payment of the service charge deposit, after the company has paid that service charge deposit, NIPC will issue them approval in principle to the company. Approval in principle means that company can start production. They can start producing that goods and services that they want to produce in Nigeria. So once you collect approval in principle, you will now send them a projected production date. Production date or production day is the day in which the pioneer status begins. The pioneer period, assuming the pioneer period is for 3 years, production day is the first day that the pioneer status will start. So if you want to know the pioneer period, from the production date up to the time that the pioneer period is going to reach 3 years, that is the pioneer period. That is the period of the pioneer. From the production day up to the date, up to the last day that will make it 3 years, that is the pioneer period. So your production day is the date that the pioneer status begins. After you have sent your production day to them, they will now look at the production date. They will now give you a certificate called production day certificate. That production day certificate simply means the date in which your pioneer status starts. The date in which your pioneer status starts. So all these are the steps involved in the pioneer status. Step or procedure involved in application for pioneer status. Mind you, like I said, for the 3 years that the company is giving pioneer incentive or pioneer status, that company will not pay company income tax and education tax. And the company can only pay annual service charge of 1% of the actual pioneer profit made. Since the company is not paying company income tax, education tax, the only thing that they will be paying for that 3 years is called annual service charge, and it's at the rate of 1% of the profit made during the pioneer period. You know, in pioneer period, we have year 1, year 2, year 3. For those 3 years, the only thing that the company will pay is 1% of the profit. and that amount is called annual service charge fee. The company will not pay company income tax and education tax. Note, for a multinational company, or local company to qualify for a pioneer status, they must have a non-current tangible asset of over 100 million. Their fixed asset value must be over 100 million. Now, the next thing we need to look at now is submission of annual performance reports. Submission of annual performance reports. Submission of annual performance reports. During the pioneer period, year 1, year 2, year 3, the company is not expected to file company income tax return. They are expected to file a return. That return is called annual performance report. Not later than 6 months after the end of the year. That means for the first year of pioneer period, they will file annual performance period for the first year of pioneer period, not later than 6 months after the first year of pioneer period. For the second year, not later than 6 months after the second year of pioneer period. For the third year, not later than 6 months after the third year of pioneer period. That report is called annual performance report. This report, they will send it to NIPC, as well as they will also send it to FRS. Company, during the pioneer period, this report, they will send it to NIPC, Nigeria Investment Promotion Council, and as well as send it to who? FRS. This annual performance report, they use it to replace company income tax return that the company normally file on their profit after the end of the year. Since they are in the pioneer period, they did not pay company income tax, they did not pay education tax. They will only file annual performance reports. What are the contents of annual performance reports? What are the contents of annual performance reports? Number 1, formal covering letter addressed to Executive Secretary of NIPC. Number 2, company and project information. Production and financial performance. Their production performance. How many units of goods that the company produced in that year during the pioneer period? In terms of performance, how much profit does the company make during the year? Number of employee and emolument. How many employees does the company employ? And what is their salary? Training costs. How much does the company incur on training costs? Raw material and component. Where does the company source the raw material that they use to produce that good that they are giving pioneer status? Those goods that we produce during the pioneer period that we are giving pioneer status to produce it is called pioneer products. During the pioneer period, if a company now produce any other good that is not stated in the pioneer period, pioneer certificates, that good is called non-pioneer product. That good that the company produced that is not stated in the pioneer period, pioneer certificate, is called non-pioneer product. Such good will be subjected to tax. The only good that will not be subjected to tax is the pioneer product or pioneer good. Those goods that is stated in the pioneer certificate when the company want to apply for pioneer certificate. Export and earnings. Export, earning, and destination. How much does the company derive from exports and their destination? Infrastructure development. What kind of development has the company contributes to the country in terms of infrastructure? Does the company help government to construct roads? Does the company help government to provide water? Does the company assist government in terms of electricity? All this will be stated in the content of annual performance reports. Now, what is the implication of non-submission of annual performance reports? When a company fails to submit annual performance report, what is the implication? Number one implication is cancellation of pioneer status incentive certificate. That means the company, NIPC, will cancel the certificate. They will revoke the certificate. They will cancel it when a company fails to submit annual performance report. Another implication is removal of the company name from the list of beneficiary. The removal of the company name from the list of beneficiary. What means NIPC will remove the company name from the list of those companies that can benefit from pioneer incentive. Another one, notification of FRS to collect tax. When you fail to submit annual performance report during the pioneer period, NIPC will write letter to FRS. Collect tax from the profit that this company make. We have revoked our certificate. We have cancelled the certificate given to them. These are the implications for non-submission of annual performance reports. Issuance of certificates. What are those certificates that they normally issue under pioneer legislation? What are those certificates that they normally use under pioneer legislation or pioneer incentive? Number one, production day certificate. Production day certificate. This certificate is issued to a company, you understand, by NIPC. And this certificate, it will show the date in which the company will commence production. That means it will show the date in which the pioneer period begins. It's going to start. Do we understand? Production day certificates. However, production day certificate, you can extend it. You can write letter to FRS and NIPC that they should help you extend your production day certificate. Assuming you are given a production day certificate that you should start producing on 1st of January 2024. When 1st of January 2024 reach, you cannot have raw material to produce that your pioneer products. You will write letter to them, please help me extend my production day certificate. Help me extend it either to 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or 5 months. Mind you, you can only extend your production day certificate for 12 months. You cannot extend it more than 12 months. If you extend your production day certificate more than 12 months, that your pioneer status will be revoked. That means if you want to extend your production day certificate, it must not exceed 12 months. If the extension exceeds 12 months, your pioneer status will be revoked. That means it will lead to cancellation of pioneer incentive. Your company will no longer enjoy pioneer incentive again. Pioneer certificate is another certificate issue. This one is going to show when your actual production day starts. When you start production, actual starts, and when your pioneer period is going to end. Is going to end. Example, let me ask a question. If a production day starts in 1st of January 2024, when is the pioneer period is going to end? If the production days start in 1st of January 2024, when is pioneer period is going to end?
December 2026.
31st December 2026. Make it what? 3 years. 3 years. Except the company is giving extension of additional 2 years. That one is not automatic granted. It's based on satisfactory performance. So in your pioneer certificate, it will show the kind of product you want to produce. It will show your pioneer product. If you produce any product outside the product stated in the pioneer certificate, what will happen to the profit of such products? What will happen to the profit of such product? Non-pioneer product profit.
It will be taxed. It will be subjected to tax.
It will be subjected to tax. So in pioneer legislation, we normally give 2 certificates: production day certificate and pioneer certificate. Now, let's look at cancellation of pioneer certificate. What are the conditions that may lead to cancellation of pioneer certificates? What will happen that will make NIPC to cancel your pioneer certificate given to you as a company? What are those conditions that will result into cancellation of pioneer certificates? Number 1, when the production day is extended for more than 1 year. That means when the production day is extended for more than 12 months, later than the date stated in the original application for pioneer certificates. When you extend your production date for more than 12 months, that means automatic, your certificate, your pioneer certificate will be cancelled. However, a production day can be extended for more than 12 months, but cannot lead to cancellation of certificate when there is a condition that leads to that extension, and that condition is beyond the control of the company. It's beyond the control of the company. Maybe government policy. Example, you want to import equipment to Nigeria to use it to start producing such pioneer products. Do you understand? the equipment importation was delayed because of some government policy, or you want to import the equipment from Russia, and there is a war between Russia and Ukraine. As a result of that war crisis, the equipment was delayed for more than 12 months. That means you can extend your certificate for more than 12 months. That means that condition is beyond your control. Or another one is when you cannot able to source for raw material. You have checked all the local raw material. They are not supplying you raw material. You cannot start producing. Look at example, Dangote refinery. Dangote have constructed refinery. Such a company will apply for pioneer certificate. Dangote refinery can apply for pioneer certificate because the kind of product that Dangote refinery is producing, initially we are importing those products. And when Dangote refinery is producing that product, it will added value to our economy. So that means Dangote refinery can apply for pioneer certificate. Production day of Dangote refinery can be extended for more than 12 months if NNPC fail to supply Dangote refinery crude oil. You understand? That means the condition is beyond the control of Dangote refinery. But condition that you can control, you are now applying for, maybe because of capital. You don't have capital, enough capital. You now apply for extension more than 12 months. That extension may lead to cancellation of your certificate. Another condition that will lead to cancellation of certificate, when the value of qualified capital expenditure on the production day is less than prescribed minimum value to the company. What is the prescribed minimum value of qualified capital expenditure a company must have for the company to apply for a pioneer certificate? What is the minimum value of the qualified capital expenditure? Who can tell me?
He said 100
What is
million.
100 million? I've stated non-current assets must not less than what? 100 million. Do we understand? When the value of your non-current asset is less than 100 million, they will cancel your certificate. That means it will result in cancellation of your pioneer certificate. When the value of your qualified capital expenditure is less than prescribed minimum value, which is 100 million, it will lead to cancellation of your certificate. Another condition, when the pioneer company apply for cancellation of certificate by themselves, the company, they approach NIPC. We don't need this pioneer certificate again. It's of no useful to us. We want to cancel it so that we'll be paying the actual tax we are paying. The condition is too much. Look at the process. The process is too stressful. And again, look at the amount we have been paying. We pay application fee, 200,000, due diligence fee. We also pay service charge fee of 2.5. The company can apply for cancellation of certificate by themselves if they see that they do no longer need the certificates. Another condition, when the company has contravened provision of Industrial Development Act, the law that governs pioneer legislation is called Industrial Development Act. or Income Tax Relief Act. When company contravene it, it will lead to cancellation of pioneer certificate. Another condition that will lead to cancellation of pioneer certificate, when company fail to submit annual performance reports. When you fail to submit what? As a company, you have been given a pioneer certificate. During the pioneer period, you fail to submit annual performance report for a particular year. That means FRS will cancel that pioneer certificate. They will cancel your pioneer incentive. All these are the conditions that will lead to cancellation of pioneer certificates. Condition for extension of pioneer period. What is the condition for extension of a pioneer period? If I want to extend pioneer period, how many years? I'm going to give extension. How many years? How many additional years? Additional years of extension of pioneer period. How many years?
2 years.
2 years. Initial period is 3 years. Extension period is what? 2 years. Do we understand? Initial period, 3 years. Extension period, 2 years. For a company to apply for extension of pioneer period, what are those conditions that company must fulfill? What are those conditions the company must fulfill? Number one, application must be made in written and addressed to who? Nigeria Investment Promotion Council. Application must be made in written and addressed to Nigeria application. You must apply for extension. You must write application for extension. That application for extension must be made not later than 1 month after the expiration of initial tax relief period. That means the application must be made not later than 1 month after the expiration of initial tax relief period, which is how many years? Which is how many years?
3 years.
3 years. Another condition, the particulars of the qualified capital expenditures incurred by the company by that date must be stated. Another condition, NIPC must certify that the rate of expansion, standard of efficiency, and level of development of the company. NIPC must also certify that the company is using local raw material. All these are the conditions that will lead to extension of pioneer period. What are those tax incentives available to a pioneer industry, a pioneer company? What are those tax incentives available to a pioneer company? You may be asked, explain tax incentive available to a pioneer companies. The first tax incentive is profit of a pioneer company during the pioneer period is exempted from tax. What type of tax? With the profit of a company, of a pioneer company during the pioneer period is exempted from?
Income tax.
And
Company income
education
tax
tax.
and
Education tax.
education tax. Another one is any amount of losses or net losses incurred by the company, by the pioneer company during the pioneer period shall be available for relief against other period. What this one is saying is any amount of losses during the pioneer period, if a company make loss, they do not make profit, they now make loss. That loss that they make during the pioneer period shall be available for relief against profit of that will arise after the pioneer period. In pioneer legislation, we have 3 periods: pre-pioneer period, pioneer period, and post-pioneer period. Some company, before they apply for certificates, pioneer certificate, they have been doing business before. They are not just a new company. Such a company, we have a pre-pioneer period. Profit made by a company before the pioneer period is called pre-pioneer profits. Such company is subjected to tax. Pioneer period, that period that you enjoy tax relief, tax holiday, that profit you make during that period is not subjected to tax. Post-pioneer period, after the pioneer period, which is 3 years, the next period that follow it is post-pioneer period. And for the post-pioneer period, you are going to apply commencement rule. While for the pre-pioneer period, the last year of pre-pioneer period, you are going to apply cessation rule. So, tax incentive available to a pioneer company. We have said profit of a pioneer company during the pioneer period is exempted from tax. The tax we are talking about, company income tax and education tax. Next, any amount of losses incurred during the pioneer period shall be available for relief against profit arises after the pioneer period. Let me give example. Let me open an Excel for us to see an example of what I'm talking about. I'm coming. I want to open an Excel. Okay, let me give example now in this my Excel. Pioneer period. assuming the pioneer period is year 2021, year 2022, year 2023. We want to assume this is the pioneer period. For the pioneer period, the profits made by the company during the pioneer period first, they make a profit of 200,000. 2 million naira. They make a profit of 2 million naira. Profits slash loss. Second year, they now make a loss of 4.5 million naira. Third year, they now make a profit of 800,000. 800,000, profit of 800,000. That means for the pioneer period, you need to get aggregated loss or net loss. What would be our net loss? We need to sum the three of them together. This plus this plus this. That means the net loss for the pioneer period is 1.7. This 1.7 is going to carry forward to the post-pioneer period. You know, the post-pioneer period is going to start from 2024. 2025. So for this post-pioneer period, if the company make a profit of 1.5 million naira for this post-pioneer period, 1.5 million naira, and they now make another profit of 1.9 million naira. What we are saying in essence is this loss, net loss during this pioneer period, is going to be carried forward. That means for 2024, which is the post-pioneer period, we are going to minus this from the profit of 2024. What will be the accessible profit? The accessible profit is going to be the difference between this and this. That means they have accessible loss. After they have minus, they have relieved the loss. Since the loss is higher than the profit available, there is still a loss. This loss is going to be carried forward for 2025 again. So at the end of the day, in 2025, there will not be accessible profit that will be subjected to tax will be 7 million, 1.7 million. What we are saying is, anytime a company make a loss during the pioneer period, that net loss for the whole 3 years is going to be carried forward for the post-pioneer period. Look at another example. Assuming the loss that this company make is 2.5 million naira. 2.5 million naira. The company, at the end of the pioneer period, they do not have net loss. They have net profits, aggregated profit. They will not carry any loss forward because the profit available during the pioneer period is enough to relieve the loss you make during the pioneer period. So there is no net aggregated loss that you will carry forward. You cannot say you want to carry this 2.5 million forward. No, you will sum 3 of them together. The balance is 3 million positive, which is a profit. Assuming it's 3 million loss, you can carry it forward. Do you understand this illustration? Do you understand?
Yes. Sir, but please, I have questions, sir.
Okay.
Sir, this loss during the pioneer period, can it be carried forward indefinitely, or is it restricted to some years?
Indefinitely.
Okay.
So that is that. So let's go back to our lecture material.
So I have a question. I have a question, sir.
What is your question?
Okay, you mentioned that after the normal 3 years that they're exempted from tax, that they could be given extra 2 years based on their performance and the rest of it. But what if the company now makes a loss? Is the 2 years grace or the 3 years grace still feasible?
Is what?
The 2 years grace or 3 years grace, is it still feasible?
2 years extension period.
Yes, extension. Yes, sorry.
Years. 2 years
is the
extension
extension. Yeah, the extension period, is it still feasible for a company that made loss during the?
It's still visible. It depends on how NIPC assess performance of the company. They may not assess the performance of the company based on profit or loss. They may assess the performance of the company. What does the company contribute to the country? Does the products produced by that company during that 3 years, does the product reduce importation of foreign products? Does the company provide employment? Does the company increase, sustain our development? Like social responsibility. They will look at other factors aside from profit. So they will not consider it based on profit only. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So let's go to our lecture material. Another tax incentive available to a pioneer industry: qualified capital expenditure incurred during the pioneer period is not subjected to capital allowance computation during the pioneer period. They are deemed to be incurred on the first day of the post-pioneer period. Qualified capital expenditure incurred during the pioneer period is not subjected to capital allowance computation during the pioneer period. They are deemed to be incurred in the first day of the post-pioneer period. Let me explain this. You know, during the pioneer period, the company does not pay tax. They do not pay company income tax. They do not pay education tax. So if company now purchase any qualified capital expenditure, we will not calculate, we will not compute capital allowance during that pioneer period. We are going to assume that company purchased that qualified capital expenditure in the first day of post-pioneer period so that they can start enjoying capital allowance. You know, for the post-pioneer period, they will start paying tax. During the pioneer period, they are not paying tax. So why are we computing capital allowance? If you are giving capital allowance during the pioneer period, you are going to carry it forward to the post-pioneer period. If you are told that the company acquire qualified capital expenditure during the pioneer period, you will not compute capital allowance during the pioneer period. You are going to compute your capital allowance on the fall in the post-pioneer period, and you are going to assume that qualified capital expenditure is acquired on the first day of the post-pioneer period. Another incentive. Provision of commencement of new business is applied to the profit post-pioneer period in driving accessible profits. That means for the post-pioneer period, after the pioneer period, which is the post-pioneer period, we are going to apply commencement rule. We're going to zoom something in new business. Another incentive, dividend paid out from pioneer profit shall not be subjected to tax in the hand of recipients. When a pioneer company paid a dividend to their shareholder during the pioneer period, and that dividend is from pioneer profits, such dividend will not be subjected to withholding tax in the hand of the recipients. So these are the incentives available to a pioneer company. Now, let's talk about commencement rule, cessation rule as applied to pre and post pioneer period. A trade or business carried on by a company shall deem to be ceased before the production date, and cessation rule shall apply to the profits. This one is saying, assuming that company that applied for pioneer incentive have been in business before they apply to pioneer incentive, immediately they are giving pioneer certificates. That business that they have been doing before the production date, we are going to apply cessation rule to that profit. We are going to assume that company wants to cease business. We are going to assume that pioneer period is a new business. So cessation rule will apply to the profit available before the pioneer period, which is the profit of pre-pioneer period, last year of pre-pioneer period. Why commencement rule is going to apply to the profits available after the pioneer period. Profit available to the company after the pioneer period. For the post-pioneer period, commencement rule is going to apply to those profits. However, for the pre-pioneer period, last year of the pre-pioneer period, assuming the company make a loss before the pioneer period, how do we treat such loss? A loss made in the pre-pioneer period is a terminal loss. That loss cannot be relieved again. We call that loss a terminal loss. It's finally lost. You can't relieve it against any profit again. That means the last year of pre-pioneer period, if you have any unrelieved losses. Such losses is therefore called terminal loss. That loss is finally lost. You cannot relieve it against any profit again. However, if a company have unrelieved capital allowance in the last year of pre-pioneer period, they have unrelieved capital allowance in the last year of pre-pioneer period where we are applying cessation rule. That unrelieved capital allowance can be carried backward for maximum of how many years? 5 years. Unrelieved capital allowance in the year of cessation can be carried backward for what? Maximum of 5 years. That is treatment of, I've talked about treatment of losses. Treatment of capital allowance now is what I'm talking about. So that capital allowance will be carried forward, carried backward to the pre-pioneer period. Restriction applicable to a pioneer industry. What are the restrictions available to a pioneer industry? Non-pioneer product during the pioneer period. What is the treatment of non-pioneer product during the pioneer period? You need to let them know that profit arising from profit or derived from a transaction of a non-pioneer product, such profit is subjected to tax. Such profit cannot be exempted from tax. Such profit is subjected to tax. Restriction of dividend distribution. Dividend distribution during the pioneer period. You must not distribute a dividend during the pioneer period that is more than the pioneer profit. When you distribute a dividend more than a pioneer profit you make during the pioneer period, such dividend will be subjected to withholding tax in the hand of the recipient. And during the pioneer period, you cannot obtain a loan. If you want to obtain a loan from a company, you must collect a permission from NIPC. So you may be asked, what is the treatment of dividends during the pioneer under pioneer incentive? Treatment of dividend under pioneer incentive. You need to let them know that dividend paid by a pioneer company out of pioneer profits is exempted from withholding tax in the hand of recipient. However, when a company declares dividend that is more than the pioneer profit during the pioneer period, such excess dividend declared by the company will be subjected to withholding tax in the hand of recipients. So what are the list of pioneer products that we have? What are the list of pioneer products? I want to list them industry by industry. ICT. What are those products that may enjoy pioneer incentive under ICT? Publishing of book, software development, music production, telecommunication, finance services. What are those services that may enjoy pioneer incentive under finance services? Real estate investment scheme. Constructions too. There are some construction companies that enjoy pioneer incentive. Waste management too. There are some waste management companies that enjoy pioneer incentive. Agricultural companies enjoy pioneer incentive. For agricultural companies, their own pioneer period is the initial period for agricultural company is 5 years, as against 3 years. For agricultural company, the initial period for agricultural company is 5 years, as against what? 3 years that is applicable for normal company. Oil and gas companies too enjoy pioneer incentive. While manufacturing companies too, like manufacturing of chemical, manufacturing of wares, manufacturing of starch products, manufacturing of sugar, manufacturing of milk, electrical equipment, manufacturing of textile, manufacturing of rubber and plastic, all those manufacturing companies, they all enjoy pioneer incentive. So let's now look at a question under this pioneer legislation. Let's look at a question under this pioneer legislation. Somebody should help us read the question. Somebody should help us read.
Eminent Limited was granted a pioneer certificate with its production day as 1st of July 2018. The following information has been obtained from its records.
From its record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Records. One accumulated profit as at 30th June 2021 is 4,950,000. Capital expenditure incurred during the pioneer period, as certified by the FIRS, building 2.4 million, plant and machinery 2,250,000, motor vehicles 1.5 million, furniture and fittings 750,000. So after the end of the pioneer period, the company adopted 31st December as its year end, and the adjusted profits from the new trade were 6 months to 31 December 2021, 1.8 million. The year to 31st December 2022, that's 2.7 million. So you are required to complete the tax liabilities of the company for the relevant years of assessment.
The company, they enjoy pioneer, they was granted a pioneer certificate with a production day of what? 1st of July 2018, Abi? What will be the first year of the pioneer period? When the first year of the pioneer period is going to start?
1st July 2018
to 30th,
to 30th June 2019.
2019. That is first year. Second year, encore.
1st July 2019 to 30th June 2020.
Third year, encore.
1st July 2020 to 30th June 2021.
That means this accumulated profits as at 30th June 2021 is for how many years?
It's for 3 years.
It's for 3 years of the pioneer period, Abi?
Yes.
It's for the 3 years and it's not subjected to tax. That means post-pioneer period is going to start when?
1st July 2021.
1st July 2021. This profit starts with 1st July 2021 and ends in what? 31st December 2021. For the post-pioneer profit, we are going to apply commencement to Abi. So let's go to the solution. If you look at the solution, I'm going to compute tax liability for the post-pioneer period. How many years do we have for the post-pioneer period?
We have 2 years.
2 years. So the tax liability I'm going to compute is just for only that 2 years. Now, let's start. We are going to apply commencement rule. If you look at this, 6 months, which started 1st July 2021 to 31st of December 2021. The year of assessment is going to be which year?
2022 year of assessment.
Assessment. The basis period is 1st of July, Abi, 2021 to 31st December 2021. So the year of assessment is 2022. Basis period, 1st of July 2021. This is post-pioneer period to 31st of December 2021. I'm following what? What rule am I following?
Commencement rule.
Commencement rule. Profits for that period is 1,800,000. That is the profits. Look at the profits. 1,800,000. Less capital allowance. Now, let's go to capital allowance. The said capital allowance incurred during what? The pioneer period. I mean, as certified by FRS. All this capital allowance, they incur it during the pioneer period. When are we going to assume this capital allowance is incurred?
1st July 2021. That is the first day after the
First
end of
day of
the
the post-pioneer period. First day of the post-pioneer period. That is when we are going to assume this capital allowance, qualified capital expenditure is incurred. So we can now go and compute our capital allowance. Our capital allowance. For our capital allowance, we have building, we have plant and machinery, we have motor vehicle, and we have furnitures. The first day of the post-pioneer period is year 2022, year of assessment. Sorry for this, I put year 2023. I will correct this. This is year 2022, year of assessment. The cost of the capital allowance, 2.4. Building, plant and machinery, 2,250,000. Motor vehicle, 1.5. Furniture and fitting, 750. Initial allowance. What would be my initial allowance? 15% of 2.4, 360. 50% of 2.250, 1,125,000. 50% of 1.5, 750. 25% of 750, 187,500. When we add the three of them together, it will give us what? 2,422,500. For the initial allowance, how many months initial allowance am I going to claim based on the basis period? You know, the basis period is 1st of July to 31st of December. That is 6 months. That means I'm going to claim 6 months initial allowance. 6 months initial allowance. If I want to get my 6-month annual allowance, sorry, I'm going to claim 6-month annual allowance. if I want to get my annual allowance, cost less initial allowance divided by number of years times months. So at the end of the first year of assessment, which is year 2022, look at the total capital allowance I get. I get a total capital allowance of 3,040,125 naira. That is my total capital allowance, 3,040,125 naira. Look at the profit available, 1.8. Capital allowance is more than the profit. That means I'm going to relieve all the profit. I'm going to relieve it from the capital allowance. At the end of the day, there will not be taxable profit. If I minus capital allowance, the capital allowance I'm going to relieve, it will be 1.8. If I minus it from the profit, no taxable profit. The relief capital allowance, if I minus it from the actual capital allowance, that means my capital allowance carried forward is going to be 1,240,125. Why do I relieve? Why I relieve all the capital, all the profit? I relieve it. I use it to reduce the capital allowance. Because Emini Tiles is a manufacturing company. Restriction to 2/3 is not applied to manufacturing company and agricultural company. It's only applied to trading company and service company. I cannot restrict the capital allowance to 2/3 of the profit. No, I will use all the profit to relieve the capital allowance. Because Emini Tiles is a manufacturing company. Assuming Emini Tiles is a trading company or service company, what I will do is the capital allowance I'm going to relieve is going to be 2/3 of 1.8. So that at the end of the day, I will still have taxable profit or total profit. But since Emini Tiles is a manufacturing company, I will relieve all the profit. I will use the relief capital allowance to reduce the capital allowance. Not taxable profit. Do you understand my explanation? Open explanation is so at the end of the day, taxable profit. Let me contrast liability. For the tax liability, TIT are tax going to nil. TET, tertiary education tax, are 2.5%. 2.5% of what? Adjusted profit. 2.5% of 1.8, it will give us 45,000. That means in the first year of post-pioneer period, the company will not pay company income tax. They will only pay education tax of 45,000. Why they did not pay education tax? Because there is no total profit or taxable profit available because of capital allowance. Now, for year 2023, what will be the basis period? 1st of January 2022 to 31st of December 2022. What is the adjusted profit? Adjusted profit was given to us in the question, which is 2.7. Capital allowance brought forward from the last year, the one I carry forward, 1,240,125. I will brought it forward for the next year. Why capital allowance for the year? For this year, 2023 year of assessment, the capital allowance is 785,250. Look at the profit available, 2.7. When you add the two capital allowance together, it's not higher than 2.7. That means I will relieve all the capital allowance. I will remove all the capital allowance. If you add 1,240,125 plus 785,250 together, you will get 2,025,375. That is the relief capital allowance you are going to relieve, because we have enough profit that can relieve everything. When you minus 2,025,375 from 2.7, you will get a total profit of 674,625. And you cannot compute your tax. How do you compute your tax? Your company income tax at the rate of 30%, 30% of total profit, 30% of 674,625. You're going to get 202,387.5, which is 202,387.5. My education tax, 2.5% of adjusted profit, 2.5% of 2.7 million is going to give you 67,500. So any question on this? Any question, any query on this? Any question? Do you have any question? Please, in case you have any question, you can ask. So in the absence of no question, we have solved one question in pioneer legislation. By our next class, which is going to be on Monday, our next class on Monday, we continue from this pioneer legislation. We have class tomorrow for advanced tax. The topic I'm going to take will be written relating to international tax. I will not continue from where I stopped. I will continue pioneer legislation next week, Monday. I will solve another question, like 2 more questions for us to understand. Like we all know, pioneer legislation is one of the important topics in advanced tax, most especially number 1 question sometimes. So please, let's pay more attention to it. So any other question, any issue? So in the absence of no question, I will call it a day. So by tomorrow, we are meeting again. We have lectures tomorrow. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Oh,
sir.
sorry,
Good night.
sir. Please, what time tomorrow? Is it physical class I'm talking about?
The timetable will be sent to you. Don't worry. I will send the timetable.
It has been sent already.
Okay. It has been sent already. Okay, no problem. So thank you. Have a nice day. Enjoy your sleep.